You know what's truly heartbreaking? Seeing older adults, good, wise, experienced people, slowly ruin their own lives without even realizing it. Statistics from the CDC show that nearly 97% of older adults make at least one critical lifestyle mistake that leads to serious physical decline, emotional distress, or loss of independence in later years. 97%. That's almost everyone. So let me ask you something. Are you one of them? Or are you part of the small, smart 3% who actually take control of their aging? Because the truth is, growing older isn't the problem. The problem is how we grow older. Hi, I'm Dr. David. I've been treating older adults for over 15 years, thousands of them. I've seen the same patterns repeat over and over again. And it breaks my heart every time because most of the time, these mistakes are completely avoidable. Today, I want to talk about 5 stupid mistakes that 97% of older adults make, mistakes that quietly destroy their lives day by day. And more importantly, I'll tell you how to stop making them before it's too late. Let's start with the first one, and it's a big one. People stop moving. They tell themselves, I'm getting older, so I should slow down. But the truth is, that's exactly how you age faster. The body is like a car engine. Leave it parked too long, and it rusts. I once had a patient named Harold. He was 72, perfectly healthy, until he decided to take it easy. Within a year, he lost almost half his leg strength, his balance got worse, and suddenly, walking to the mailbox became a chore. Not because of disease, but because of disuse. Movement is the secret to staying alive, literally. Studies show that older adults who walk at least 30 minutes a day cut their risk of death by almost half. That's not a small number, but still most people find excuses. It's too cold. My knees hurt. I'll do it tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes next week, and next week becomes never. And here's the scary part. Once your muscles weaken past a certain point, recovery becomes 10 times harder. You can't just bounce back. So if you're listening to this right now while sitting on your couch, I'm going to say this as your doctor and your friend. Get up. Move. Walk around the house. Stretch. Anything. Because every minute you spend sitting still is a minute your body is quietly giving up on you. The second mistake is one most people never think about. Isolation. Humans aren't meant to live like islands, but many older adults do exactly that. They stop reaching out, stop visiting friends, stop talking to neighbors. At first, it feels peaceful, but soon that peace turns into silence, and that silence eats away at your mind. Loneliness increases the risk of dementia by more than 40%. It raises blood pressure, weakens the immune system, and shortens lifespan. It's as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, and yet many people shrug it off like it's nothing. I once had a patient named Margaret. Widowed, living alone, she told me she didn't need anyone. I'm fine on my own, she said. But when her daughter moved away and her best friend passed, something in her spirit dimmed. Her memory started to fade, her energy vanished, and she lost interest in everything. You know what helped her more than any pill? Joining a local choir. The laughter, the shared moments, the human touch. It brought her back to life. That's what connection does. It doesn't just make you happy. It keeps your brain alive. So if you've been avoiding calls or declining invitations, stop waiting. Call that old friend. Go to that church group. Visit that neighbor. Don't let loneliness trick you into thinking you're better off alone. Now, the third mistake, it's sneaky and it's deadly. Older adults stop paying attention to nutrition because they think, I'm old, it doesn't matter what I eat now. Oh, but it does. In fact, it matters more than ever. As you age, your metabolism slows down, your digestion changes, and your body becomes more sensitive to nutrient deficiencies. The cruel irony is many people start eating less just when they need more nutrition. They skip breakfast, eat processed foods, or rely on frozen dinners. And then they wonder why they're tired, dizzy, and forgetful. I had a patient, Mrs. Allen, 81 years old, always fatigued, always cold. She thought it was just aging, but when we ran tests, we found severe vitamin B12 deficiency and anemia. Once we fixed her diet, she told me, "Doctor, I feel like someone turned the lights back on in my head." That's what food can do. It's not just calories, it's information. Every bite tells your body how to heal, how to fight, how to age. Real food, fruits, vegetables, proteins, good fats, that's your best medicine. Now, before you nod and say, "I already know that," let me stop you. Knowledge doesn't help if you don't act on it. Every person who's ruined their health thought they knew. The difference is not in knowing, it's in doing. So here's a question. When was the last time you actually cooked a fresh meal for yourself? Not microwaved, cooked. Think about that. Because what you eat 3 times a day is shaping how you'll live or suffer 10 years from now. Let's pause here for a second. Do you notice a pattern? Each of these mistakes isn't about bad luck or genetics. They're about choices. Small, daily choices that seem harmless at first, but add up over time. That's why 97% of older adults fall into them. They're simple traps disguised as comfort. You stop moving because it feels easier. You stop connecting because it feels safer. You stop eating well because it feels convenient. But comfort is a dangerous drug. It steals your future, one quiet day at a time. And yet, it's not too late. I've seen 90-year-olds turn their health around just by changing how they think. Because aging doesn't kill your body, giving up does.
There are still 2 more mistakes that might surprise you. The next one in particular is something I see even in the most intelligent, well-educated people. It's subtle, but it can destroy your peace of mind faster than any disease. We'll get to that in a moment, but let me leave you with this thought. Every decade of your life gives you a chance to start over. Whether you're 60, 70, or 90, your body and your mind are still listening to you. The question is, what are you telling them? Let's talk about the 4th mistake, and this one might sting a little. Many older adults stop learning. Somewhere along the way, people start believing that curiosity is only for the young. They say, "My brain isn't what it used to be," or "I'm too old to learn new things." But that's one of the biggest lies aging tells you. Your brain is not a machine that wears out. It's a muscle that grows stronger the more you use it. The moment you stop challenging it, it starts shrinking, literally shrinking. Brain scans show that mental inactivity accelerates the loss of neural connections, the very pathways that keep your memory, focus, and emotional balance alive. I had a patient named Roger, 78 years old, retired engineer. He told me he felt foggy. He'd forget names, lose track of what day it was. When I asked what he did all day, he said mostly TV and naps. I told him that was his problem. I asked him to learn something new, anything. He picked Spanish. 6 months later, he walked into my office and said, "Buenos dias, doctor." His energy was back, his mind sharper, his confidence through the roof. That's not coincidence. That's neuroplasticity, the brain's magical ability to grow new connections at any age. Every time you read a book, try a new hobby, or even play a puzzle game, you're building new roads inside your brain. And those roads keep you independent, confident, and alert. So if you've stopped learning, you started decaying. Pick something that excites you. Painting, piano, gardening, technology. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you stay curious. Curiosity is the heartbeat of a youthful mind. But there's another side to this. It's not just about learning new things. It's about unlearning old, harmful beliefs. Many people hold on to outdated ideas about aging, like, "I'm supposed to feel weak," or "it's normal to be in pain all the time." Those beliefs become self-fulfilling. The mind tells the body, "We're done," and the body listens. You have to be careful about the stories you tell yourself, because your body is always eavesdropping on your thoughts. If you wake up saying, "I'm old and useless," your body will obey that command. But if you tell yourself, "I'm still learning, still growing," your body responds with energy and vitality. Now, the 5th mistake, and I'd argue this is the deadliest one of all, It's called neglecting purpose, losing the reason to wake up in the morning. You'd be amazed how many older adults drift through their days with no spark left in their eyes. They eat, they sleep, they survive, but they don't live. Their days blend together like wallpaper. They've stopped asking, "Why am I here?" But purpose, that's your internal fuel. It's what gives meaning to every breath you take. I've seen patients in their 80s and 90s who were physically frail but emotionally unstoppable. They volunteered, mentored kids, grew gardens, rescued dogs. They had a reason to keep going, and their bodies listened. And I've seen others, people with perfect medical numbers, who gave up mentally. They lost their drive after retirement, after losing a spouse, after the kids moved away. And within a few years, their health followed their mindset. Let me tell you about Mrs. Collins. She was 84 when her husband passed. She stopped cooking, stopped socializing, stopped caring. When she came to me, she said, "Doctor, I think I'm just waiting for my turn to go." I asked her, "What did you love doing before?" She said, "Teaching." So I connected her with a community center that needed tutors. 3 months later, she was teaching kids how to read. She told me, "They gave me back my heartbeat." That's what purpose does. It doesn't come from money or status. It comes from being useful to someone or something beyond yourself. Without purpose, your spirit withers. And when your spirit fades, the body soon follows. But here's the beautiful truth. It's never too late to find meaning again. Maybe it's through helping others. Maybe it's through art. Maybe it's simply being there for your family, or nurturing your garden, or taking care of yourself so you can inspire others to do the same. Every life, no matter how old, has unfinished work. You just have to decide that yours isn't done yet. Now, if you've been listening carefully, you'll notice all 5 mistakes share one thing in common. They're not caused by aging, they're caused by surrender. People don't lose their health, their mind, or their joy because of years. They lose them because they stop fighting for them. That's the quiet tragedy of aging, not that the body changes, but that the will fades. The moment you start saying, "I can't," the brain and the body stop trying. But the opposite is also true. The moment you say, "I can still," the spark reignites. I want you to think about this. Your life doesn't end when you hit a certain age. It ends when you stop believing it matters. And you, right now, listening to this, you still matter. Let me tell you something I've learned after 15 years of working with older adults. The strongest ones, the ones who keep living vibrant, joyful lives, aren't necessarily the healthiest. They're the most stubborn. They refuse to fade quietly. They refuse to let the calendar define them. I once had a 92-year-old patient who walked into my office wearing running shoes. He said, "Doc, I don't jog fast anymore, but I still chase the sunrise." That line has stayed with me ever since. That's how you win the game of aging. You don't let it chase you, you chase it. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, "Doctor, I've already made these mistakes. Maybe you stopped exercising. Maybe you've been lonely. Maybe you've lost purpose." But here's the truth. The human body and mind are incredibly forgiving. It doesn't matter how many mistakes you've made. What matters is what you do next. Start small. Take a short walk today. Call an old friend. Cook one fresh meal. Read a few pages of a book. These tiny acts of defiance add up. They tell your body, "We're still in this." I'm not telling you to be perfect. I'm telling you to be persistent. Because life doesn't reward perfection. It rewards effort. And if you ever feel like you're too far gone to change, remember this. The oldest person to climb Mount Everest was 80 years old. The oldest marathon runner was 101. The human spirit doesn't have an expiration date. There's one more thing that ties all this together, something that might surprise you. It's not just movement, connection, learning, nutrition, or purpose. It's the mindset that wraps around all of them.
the belief that your story still matters. When you wake up tomorrow morning, before you touch your phone, before you complain about your aches, I want you to say one sentence out loud. I'm still alive, and that means I still have work to do. Because the real tragedy isn't dying, it's living without trying. Now, let's go a little deeper, because knowing these mistakes isn't enough. You have to understand how to reverse them, how to turn back the clock on habits that may have been with you for years. Let's start with the body again. You might think it's too late to rebuild strength, but muscles don't care how old you are. They only care if you use them. Research from the National Institute on Aging found that even people in their 90s can build new muscle and regain balance after just 8 weeks of light resistance training. That's right, your muscles still listen, even in your 9th decade. But here's where most people fail. They overthink it. They imagine complicated workout plans, gym memberships, or expensive equipment. You don't need any of that. You can start with 10 minutes of movement every morning. Stand up and sit down from a chair 5 times. Walk down your driveway and back. Stretch your arms above your head. That's it. You see, the key is consistency, not intensity. I'd rather see you walk 5 minutes every day than go to the gym once a month, because the body doesn't respond to effort, it responds to habit. And here's a secret. Every time you move, you're not just training your muscles, you're training your mind to stay alive. Movement sends a message to your brain that says, we're still part of the world. That single message changes everything. Now, about loneliness. I know that one's hard. Some people listening right now might have lost their spouse, their friends, maybe even their children. The silence of an empty house can feel like a weight pressing on your chest. But isolation doesn't always come from being alone. It comes from not engaging. I've met people surrounded by family who still felt lonely because they stopped participating in life. Connection doesn't knock on your door. You have to create it. Here's a small step. Make one meaningful interaction a day. It could be calling your daughter, chatting with a neighbor, or even talking to the cashier at the grocery store. Human contact, no matter how small, keeps your mind anchored to the present. And if you don't have family nearby, technology can be your bridge. I've seen 80-year-olds video call their grandchildren every night. I've seen people join online book clubs, cooking classes, and discussion groups. It might feel awkward at first, but once you get over that hump, it feels like someone turned the lights back on in your life. Remember, you're not a burden for wanting connection. You're human. We are built to share laughter, stories, and silence together. Now let's talk about learning again. I'll tell you a story that still inspires me. There was a patient of mine named Dorothy, 89 years old, who came into my office carrying a small laptop. She said, "Doctor, my grandson got me this, but I don't know how to use it." So we spent 10 minutes each visit learning one thing: how to type, how to send an email, how to search for recipes. 6 months later, she told me she was writing her own memoir. I asked her what inspired her. She said, "I realized I've lived too much life to let it disappear in silence." That line hit me like lightning. Learning gave her back her voice. It reminded her that she still had something to offer. That's what curiosity does. It reawakens purpose. So whatever it is, technology, art, history, music, find something that makes you curious again. Let it stretch your mind and surprise you. Now, let's revisit nutrition, because I can't stress this enough. As we age, our appetite changes. Food starts to lose its taste, or cooking feels like too much effort. But the body still needs nourishment, especially the brain. Here's the truth. Your diet literally shapes how your brain ages. A simple change like adding blueberries or walnuts daily can improve memory and slow cognitive decline. Lean protein, leafy greens, and omega-3 fats, those aren't trends, they're medicine. One of my patients used to joke that he had the diet of a raccoon. Whatever he found, he ate. When he started eating more fresh food, within weeks he told me, "I didn't know I could feel this awake again." That's the power of feeding your cells what they need.
Food isn't just fuel, it's conversation. Every meal is a message to your body. I care about you. And that brings us back to the final point, purpose. This one can't be prescribed in a pill bottle, but it heals more deeply than any medicine. Purpose gives you direction when everything else feels blurry. It's the thing that pulls you out of bed when your body says, "Stay down." It doesn't have to be grand, it just has to be yours. For some, it's faith. For others, family. For many, it's creativity or service. I once had a 95-year-old patient who painted tiny bird figurines and donated them to hospitals for children. When I asked why, she said, "Because it reminds me I still have gentle hands." That line taught me something profound. Purpose doesn't come from what you can do, it comes from what you can give. If you feel like you've lost purpose, start by serving in small ways. Hold the door open for someone, smile at a stranger, offer advice to a younger person who's struggling. The moment you make someone else's life a little brighter, yours gets lighter too. And here's where everything connects: movement, connection, learning, nutrition, and purpose. They're not separate pillars, they're a circle. Each one feeds the others. When you move, your brain works better. When your brain works better, you feel more confident to learn. When you learn, you connect with people. When you connect, you feel purpose. And when you feel purpose, you take care of your body again. That's how you stay alive, not just in years, but in spirit. Let's pause for a moment. Take a breath. Think about where you are in that circle right now. Maybe you've been stuck at one point. Maybe movement, maybe connection. That's okay. The beauty of this circle is that you can enter from any side. Start where you can, and the rest will follow. And when you stumble, and you will, don't beat yourself up. Aging is not a straight road, it's a dance. Some days you'll move with grace. Some days you'll stumble. What matters is that you keep dancing. I often tell my patients, there's no such thing as too old. There's only too late to start. But even that's not true, because as long as you're breathing, it's never too late. Every sunrise is proof that you've been given another chance to do it differently. You see, aging is not a disease to be feared. It's an invitation to live wiser, lighter, and more intentionally. You don't have to fight aging. You have to partner with it. Listen to your body, but don't let it boss you around. Listen to your fears, but don't let them decide your future. And if someone ever tells you you're too old for that, smile politely and prove them wrong. Because at the end of the day, growing older isn't about surviving. It's about refusing to stop evolving. Let's talk about transformation. Because after all these years treating older adults, I've learned one truth that gives me hope every single day. People can change at any age. I've seen it. I've felt it. I've watched it happen right in front of me. There was a man named Frank, 86 years old, widowed, diabetic, barely walking. When he first came to me, he said, "Doctor, I'm too old for miracles." I looked at him and said, "Then it's a good thing you don't need one. You just need a decision." He didn't believe me, but I told him to start small, walk for 5 minutes a day, eat one vegetable at lunch, call one friend every week. 6 months later, he came back to my office with a cane he barely needed anymore. His blood sugar had improved, his weight was down, and his eyes, those tired eyes, had life again. I asked him what changed. He said, "I just stopped waiting to die." That sentence still gives me chills, because that's it right there. Most people don't die because their body gives up.
They die because their spirit does. Frank realized something powerful. As long as you're still breathing, life is waiting for you to show up. And that brings me to another story that still makes me smile. A woman named Ruth, 91 years old, used to call herself an old piece of furniture. She'd lost her husband, most of her friends, and even her sense of identity. But when her granddaughter got married, she decided she wanted to dance at the wedding. That was her goal. Simple, but bold. She started walking every morning, holding on to the railings in her hallway. She practiced balance exercises while brushing her teeth, and she changed her diet. Not perfect, but better. The day of the wedding, the music started, and Ruth walked to the center of the floor. She didn't waltz or spin, she just swayed, smiling, hand in hand with her granddaughter. But everyone in the room was crying, because they knew what that dance meant. When she came to see me afterward, she said, "Doctor, I didn't just dance, I came back to life." That's what small victories do. They remind you that you're still capable of joy, that you can still surprise yourself. You see, aging doesn't steal your strength. It hides it, waiting for you to look again. But there's something else I've noticed. Many older adults make the mistake of comparing themselves to who they used to be. They say things like, "I used to be able to run 5 miles," or "I used to have a sharp memory." And every time they say that, they build a wall between who they were and who they are.
Stop doing that. The past version of you isn't your competition. It's your teacher. You're not supposed to be the same person you were at 30 or 50. You're supposed to be wiser, more patient, more grounded. That's progress, not loss. When you stop comparing yourself to the past, you make room to appreciate the present. The small things, a good conversation, a sunny morning, a favorite song, they start to mean more. That's the quiet reward of aging. You stop chasing noise and start noticing peace. And peace, my friend, is worth more than youth. Now there's another transformation I want to talk about, the one that happens inside your mind. Because the truth is, your body follows your thoughts. If you believe you're weak, your body will show you proof. If you believe you're strong, your body will rise to meet that belief. There's a fascinating study that found older adults who viewed aging positively lived an average of 7.5 years longer than those who didn't. Think about that. The difference wasn't medication or genetics, it was mindset. Your brain listens to your words like commands. If you say, "I'm falling apart," it prepares to break. If you say, "I'm still here," it fights to stay. So every morning, when you look in the mirror, don't focus on the wrinkles or the gray hair. Focus on the eyes looking back at you. They've seen decades of storms and still shine. That's resilience. That's beauty. I once told a patient this, and she laughed. "Doctor, you sound like a poet." Maybe I do, but after watching thousands of people either fall apart or rise up, I've learned that science alone isn't enough. You need belief. The brain doesn't just heal with data, it heals with hope. And that's what I want you to feel right now. Hope. Not the blind kind that waits for luck, but the kind that's built from action. The kind that says, "I can still do something today to make tomorrow better." Hope is medicine, and you can take it daily. Let's get practical for a moment, because I know you might be listening and thinking, "Okay, Dr. David, I get it, but where do I start?" Start with one thing, just one. Don't try to fix all 5 mistakes at once. That's too much pressure. Choose the one that feels easiest today. If you've been sitting too much, take a short walk. If you've been lonely, make a call. If your meals have been mostly processed food, cook one simple dish with real ingredients. If your mind feels dull, learn one new word or watch a documentary. If your days feel empty, volunteer, plant something, or simply write down 3 things you're grateful for. One action a day. That's the rule.
Small steps repeated daily beat big promises forgotten tomorrow. That's how transformation happens. Quietly, gradually, but powerfully. Now let's talk about something that many older adults don't realize until it's too late: the power of self-kindness. You've spent decades taking care of everyone else, your family, your career, your responsibilities, but somewhere along the way, you probably forgot to take care of yourself. You scold yourself for forgetting things. You feel guilty for resting. You criticize your body for changing. But tell me this, would you ever speak to your best friend that way? Of course not. So why do it to yourself? Kindness isn't weakness, it's strength turned inward. When you treat yourself with compassion, your stress hormones drop, your immune system strengthens, and your body literally starts to heal faster. You've earned the right to be gentle with yourself. The truth is, aging gracefully isn't about pretending you're young. It's about embracing the stage you're in with curiosity instead of fear. You can't stop the clock, but you can decide how you spend the time it gives you. And if you do it right, you'll find that growing older isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of your legacy. Because now you have wisdom the younger version of you never did. You understand what truly matters. You've seen enough to know that time is precious, people are irreplaceable, and love is the only thing that multiplies when you give it away. That's what makes this chapter so special. It's not about what you've lost, it's about what you've learned. So here we are. You've listened this far, and that already tells me something about you. You haven't given up. You're still curious, still willing to learn, still fighting for a better version of yourself. And that alone puts you in the small, rare 3% who refuse to let life slip away quietly. You know, after all these years working with older adults, I've realized that the greatest success stories don't come from those who had perfect health or perfect luck. They come from the ones who decided to stay awake to life. And that's what I want for you. Don't let your world shrink just because you've added a few more candles to your cake. Keep expanding, keep moving, keep talking, keep laughing. Let your curiosity outlive your comfort. You don't need to be a hero. You just need to keep showing up. For yourself, for the people who love you, for the life that's still waiting for you every morning.
When I visit my oldest patients, I often ask them the same question. What's the secret to staying happy at your age? You know what they always say? It's never about money or diet or medicine. They always say, keep loving something. Love your walks. Love your hobbies. Love your family. Love this messy, imperfect, beautiful life that still has room for you in it. Because when you love something, you take care of it. You nurture it. You protect it. And when you love your own life, truly love it, every other good thing starts to follow. So, my friend, don't be one of the 97% who destroy their joy through small, avoidable mistakes. Be the exception. Be the person who grows old with fire in their eyes and gratitude in their heart. You still have chapters left to write. Make them bold. Make them meaningful. Make them yours. I'm Dr. David, and I want you to remember this. It's never too late to choose life again. Take that walk. Make that call. Cook that meal. Learn that song. Smile at that stranger. Because every single one of those moments says to the universe, I'm still here. And that, my friend, is the most powerful statement you'll ever make.